Boys, so I know you guys are probably going to unleash a Judd's hockey show at some point here in the coming days. I'd like a little preview of that because it felt to me, and we can play a clip here from Billy Guerin that I believe Declan has, but it felt to me like there was a ton of buildup to yesterday and the free agency opening in the NHL. And all right, well, we're definitely going to retain Ian Cole, and Foligno is going to be a no-brainer. It was like there was a lot of assumptions, I feel like, that fell through yesterday and some disappointed fans. But let's hear from Billy Guerin, then get your guys' reaction.
Alex Goligoski was, the primary target for us on defense, and we got him. We're extremely happy. It's, there's great flexibility in his contract for us and for him. I think he's excited to be playing at home. Freddie Gaudreau is a guy that we identified that would be a good fit for us. He can play wing. He can play center. He was playing, up the lineup in Pittsburgh last year. Dean has familiarity with him, things like that. And then we got some good depth guys too as well. And those things are all important. It all takes time.
Okay.
Reckless speculation.
So as part of reckless speculation here on Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment, there's also sort of the autopsy of when reckless speculation falls flat. And it kind of felt like that. Goligoski seems like a great one-year deal to help replace Suits. But 1 to 10 scale, 1 being colossal disappointment, 10 being, wow, they hit it out of the park yesterday. Where do you land on the first day of Wild free agency?
I landed a very even 4. Here's the problem. Free agency is seductive. It's basically going to a bar and having 7 beers, and then the gal across the bar starts to flirt with you, and you're like,
does this happen frequently to you at Bunny's?
No, I'm a
when
married
Don's
man.
out of town?
No, I'm a married man, okay? So I'm trying to paint a picture.
Oh, Don's
here.
visiting family in Iowa. I'm going to go belly up, drink 9 beers.
At Bunny's, I'm going to tell you right now, the amount of women that just sit around the bar and watch sports on the big screen.
Just waiting for Judd Zolgad to walk in.
And far between.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you the amount of women that, they sit on that bar stool.
Oh my God, that's a
like,
6 Summit EPA.
Can you get the Penguins game on? Can you get the Penguins Devils on?
Is that Judd Zolgad from Judd's hockey show? Oh my God.
I want to watch the Canadians against the Avalanche. Anyway, it's a seductive process, but the problem too, and you know what? Guerin said this yesterday, and I remember the day that Vanek signed. The day that Vanek signed, the Wild had intentions of signing like 3 guys or something, and they didn't. And Chuck Fletcher that day said the same exact thing, which is the prices are out of control. I can't believe the prices. Like every time it's like it catches these GMs by surprise.
Terry Ryan used to do that too.
What's going on with these prices?
Can you believe it costs $15 to go to a movie these days? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
And like this, but like the other thing is in sports, no matter what your cap is, there's always going to be teams that spend recklessly. So I'm giving it a 4 because it's not like I wanted to see the Wild go in and go hog wild, no pun intended. Nick Foligno is a disappointment that they didn't get him. But here's the thing about that. And I think Dex and I talked about this during our live show yesterday. The Wild drew a price point on him, which he was worth. Boston came in at more, and the Wild's just like, okay, we're not going to do that. And so I don't blame them. Now, is there concern about the depth at center and the lack of activity there? Absolutely. Okay. But the Wild's game plan going into yesterday was to try to get 2 forwards and 3 defensemen. They signed Goligoski to a 1-year, $5 million contract. They signed Dmitry Kulikov to a 2-year, $4.5 million contract. They signed a 3rd or 4th line, probably 4th line center in the guy that Guerin was talking about there as well, Frederick Gaudreau, to a 2-year contract. So they filled in some pieces. They still need a center who they could actually probably slot in as their one. I don't think they were going to get it yesterday. So like there was this trepidation about, oh my God, they didn't do more. They should have done way more. I don't know that there was a lot more to be done being fiscally responsible. And the buyouts that are going to start to catch up to them for Suter and Parise, it's going to catch up to them next year, the year after, and unfortunately the year after that. Make them have to make tough decisions. But it was interesting because Bill Guerin was asked specifically, do you regret the Suter part yet? Because, Parise was expected. And he's like, not one bit. No, I don't. Which shows you again how bad he wanted that guy gone.
Man.
So I'm not going to, I'm not sure what Dex thinks. I'm not going to get on here and crap on them for not like becoming irresponsible as hell. They need to make some moves still, which they can. But I also think yesterday was a day as much about showing restraint as it is about going all in. And I would rather show restraint sometimes.
Okay. Dax, 1 to 10.
6.
Oh.
I'm at a 6.
So you're so 6 like 10 being you thought they did a great job.
Yeah, they did a 6. I don't think they could have really done anything more than they were supposed to on free agency. Would have been nice to have Nick Foligno, sure, but I'm not going to lose sleep over not going up 75 more K, which I think Boston offered him. You essentially replaced Ryan Suter with Goligoski. You replaced Ian Cole with Dmitry Kulikov. I don't hate those signings. I think those are fine signings. Maybe you overpaid a little bit for both those guys in the short term, but the Wild can't afford to give out long-term contracts right now. They really can't. My biggest question is not really with these free agency signings and dropping, quote unquote, dropping the ball on the first day. It's more of what is the backup plan here? Like, what's the backup plan if they're indeed out on Jack Eichel? Because I don't think this team can seriously afford to roll on the entry-level contracts. I know that might seem like the right cost-effective way, and it probably is the right cost-effective way to go about it with Boldy and Rossi under extremely cheap contracts for at least 2 years, and then they'll probably even get a bridge deal after that. But you cannot afford to have Victor Rask as your second-best center. Joel Eriksson can't just be thrown into the number one role even after a very good year and expect him to be that person. With Kirill Kaprizov's contract negotiation and Fiala's contract negotiations basically being silent. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN reported 2 days ago, deafening silence on the Kaprizov contract talks. I think if you find this number one center, or if you're going out there and trying to find a Jack Eichel equivalent or a Thomas Hertl or a Christian Dvorak, whoever the hell it's going to be, that's only going to make the negotiations for Kaprizov pick up and say, all right, here's your guy. You want to play with Ryan Hartman anymore. You won't have to, play with Victor Rask again. Here's your number one center, Kirill. Let's get you signed. And if it is only a 4-year deal, it is what it is. But I want to know what the backup plan is here because the window right now is this and next year. It's not 4 or 5 years down the road when you have $15 million in dead money. It's right now. And Bill Guerin knows that. So I really want to know what the backup plan is.
Yeah.
So let's talk the realistic things here too, because I think there's some late July pie in the sky thought processes around this league that involve the Wild and other teams as well. Let's start with Kaprizov. He's going to get a 3-4-year contract. It's what he wants. Like the talks will turn undeafening when Kirill gets what Kirill wants. And as much as we want to say, well, he can't sign elsewhere, he's stuck. He's really not stuck. He's not stuck because the KHL, as big of a move as much as we don't think he would do it, is still a threat. So he basically controls when he plays, who he plays for, as far as it could be in Russia or here, and how long he plays. To what Declan said, and I think he's right. The thing about it is, if it's a 3 or 4-year contract, that speeds you up to try to win, but you should be doing that now regardless. And Bill Guerin says we're a contender right now. Like, he's not saying that this is 5 years out. So the reality with Kaprizov is the deafening silence of those talks will get turned up to full volume when Bill Guerin caves in. And I think he's probably going to have to. Now, maybe you get 4 years. Ideally for Kaprizov, 3 years. Second part, the Jack Eichel thing. If you think what the Philadelphia 76ers are asking for Ben Simmons from San Antonio is ridiculous, what Buffalo's trying to do, and why I don't believe the Wild is truly out, despite the reports that they are, the smart teams are basically telling Buffalo, you're crazy. So Buffalo has an asset of a player who, when he's healthy, is a superstar. No question about it. Like, he is a superstar player. I don't know about his personality. I don't care right now in this conversation, but he is one of the best players in the league, but he wants to have surgery on his neck. Buffalo is trying to get a package for Jack Eichel that you could get if you took him to market healthy. He's not healthy. Nobody is going to mortgage as much as Buffalo wants and then pay the Eichel contract for a guy who, God forbid, takes the wrong hit in a year and can't play. So when they elect to come to reality of the situation they're basically being forced to trade him, because ideally, as much as they didn't want him to have the surgery, ideally, I think what you do if you're Buffalo, when you really want this return, like let's say you are going to break the bank, I think your better option is keep him, let him have the surgery, let him prove himself, and then have him break, and then say he's healthy. But Jack Eichel wants out. Buffalo wants to trade him. So at that point, you have to come to terms with the fact that you are going to get a nice return for him. You are not going to get the return that Buffalo is asking, which is why I don't think that the Wild's out, because I think the Wild would give you a realistic price back. But why would you give that much for a guy who you don't know what his career is going to be like? And he also might not return the same player.
Reckless speculation.
But then again, on the flip side, to Declan's point, the way that your salary cap is laid out the next handful of years, and just based on a number of factors, this window to win has actually come up a little bit quicker than everyone thought because the Wild advanced their timeline last year by being better than people thought. Mm-hmm. And we knew Kaprizov was going to be good, but there were still some questions like, how good is he going to be? Oh, he's one of the best players in the NHL. And so all of this has come very quickly, a year or two or maybe more quicker than you thought. And so the answer to your question, Judd, is, well, why would you risk overpaying for a potential, damaged hockey player? Because you don't have an alternative. Like, if you want to win a Stanley Cup in the next couple of years, what is your alternative? Mm-hmm. That's the question. Like, you might have to take a risk and cross your fingers and hope that Eichel can be ready for the second half of the season and next year if you want to hoist a Stanley Cup. And what do we say around here on Mackey and Judd?
We want titles.
We want titles. And you can't always. I mean, look in the Major League Baseball trade deadline, for instance. Well, boy, Max Scherzer's had a couple injuries and stuff, and he only has a year left in his contract. Like, well, you want to win a World Series? Trade for Max Scherzer and cross your fingers. Like, that's kind of the way it works. I get it. Eichel is signed long term, and so if you are wrong, you essentially, and he doesn't retire or something, like, you are going to have to sit there and eat a ridiculous contract when he might not be the player that he was. But that might be a risk you have to take if you want to win a Stanley Cup. I'm just saying.
Right, but Buffalo has to realize they're not dealing a healthy superstar player. Like, they have to get there. That has to be the first thing. And then we can talk about what the parameters are. Because I'm not saying that they're going to release him or give him to you for cheap. But they're acting like they have a guy who's a step below Connor McDavid right now, who's healthy. That's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there are paths to try and make the trade, and probably hope that he can come back in, I don't know, let's say February or March. But I don't think that trade gets made until the Sabres realize, okay, we can get a lot, but we're not going to get as much as we thought. And if they're going to stick with their plan, then go to Eichel and say, we're keeping you, have the surgery, we're going to get you back on the ice, let you play in games, and then trade you, because we'll undoubtedly get more at that point.
Mm-hmm. I think also that the longer this goes on, the more his market's going to fall. Free agency is now a go. It was a thin market.
Absolutely.
Especially at the top. Landeskog ended up signing back with Colorado. I don't think anyone really saw that coming so quick, but the longer this goes on, the smaller his market and the lesser the return's going to have to be, because he's going to want out, and that Eichel camp is pissed. So they definitely want out.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, because we got some old tweets exposed to get to as well. So those comments that you alluded to about Ryan Suter, because this is all a chance to sort of put a positive spin on things. If you're Bill Guerin, and listen, we love Ryan, and it was a really tough decision, but we just wanted to give him a fresh start. It's like you could have spun this any number of directions. And he was asked point blank, like, do you regret buying out Ryan Suter? And he said no. Flat.
Yep.
A flat no. And I think there hasn't been a lot written or talked about when it comes to Suter and Parise and chemistry and the room and just the whole behind-the-scenes dynamic that's important in the NHL, right? And there's just been a lot of chatter behind the scenes that Ryan Suter wasn't the best in terms of gluing everything together, let's say. And I think Bill Guerin's comments definitely validate that. And it hasn't really been publicized much.
So I haven't read through all of it, but guess who put out a Players Tribune article this morning?
I'm reading it right now.
Suits?
Ryan
Suits
Suter.
did, yep.
Put it out just about an hour ago.
Yep.
And he talks about, his family and how great it's been in Minnesota. And at the end, this is probably the more telling one. And it's not necessarily about the relationship with Zach or Bill, because he does talk about how blindsided he was. But this is the last paragraph of this article. But here's the thing, Minnesota, and this is a promise. This letter is not a goodbye. It's more like a thank you, and we love you, and we'll see you soon, because after I hang them up, we're coming back to Minnesota, back to a place that we all love, our place, back home. End article.
Because I think his wife is from Bloomington.
He's gonna. That seemed awfully like a grandiose way of saying, and we'll probably just move back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
At some point.
Oh yeah, no, he's telling you in Suits fashion.
Cool.
In Suits fashion, man. He is telling you flat out, I'm coming back.
Well, just be near a quick trip. Just be near a quick trip.
Think about what Guerin did here. Okay, he put himself into salary cap hell. Like the Parisi buyout was tough, but it was not unexpected. I think it was pretty smart. The Suter buyout was completely unnecessary when it comes to the player, like his on ice. Just think about this for a second. Mm-hmm. Think about the dedication that you're going to have now for the next 3 years after this one, of answering questions about this move, about having bought out a still productive player who, by the way, got a 4-year contract, and I believe will now make $11 million plus more because he got bought out, because he can double dip with his salary he's going to get from the Wild and Dallas. Yeah. All to get him out of the locker room. I don't care what anyone else says. There's no other reason to do it. Yeah. There's nothing about his play that descended to a point where you would do this. Zach, there was. Ryan Suter, there was not. This is one of the biggest cojones moves that you could see an executive make to tell a player, I don't want you anywhere near my team. It's flat out that way.
Last thing, too, from this article, this was about the buyout. He goes, our family, we did not see this coming. None of us, not in a million years. I really thought I was going to retire in Minnesota. So when the call came in about the buyout, I was basically in shock. I remember I was actually at a loss for words on the phone and barely even said anything before hanging up. I was in Madison
He hung up on
because he hung up on him. He hung up on him. That's exactly what happened. Everyone's reporting that.
I get it.
I was in Madison about to step out on the ice for a workout, and I was kind of a wreck after getting the news. I quickly tried calling Becky, his wife, who was with Brooks and Bo, his sons, in Minnesota for a baseball tournament. She didn't pick up, so after my skate, I texted her the news, and by that point, she had already heard. I guess that's life in 2021, right?
So wait, he didn't call her the second time? He just texted her?
Well, she didn't pick up the phone.
She didn't pick up the phone.
No, the first time she didn't. So the second time, did he try to call her again?
How else are you supposed to, I guess you could let the voice. No, I think a voice memo would have been maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, it's life in 2021.
Yeah, I wouldn't say not a voice mail, but a voice memo. Like I'm out on voicemail, but I'm in on voice memos.
I hate voicemail. Yeah. But anyway, I just think this is one of the most interesting moves I think made as far as jettisoning an active player who's good in the history of sports in this town.
Yeah, no,
he jettisoned him.
There's the only
you wouldn't trade him.
The only reason you would do it is if you thought that he was just sort of a cancer behind the scenes and it wasn't helping you advance forward there. So, all right, every single Thursday, in addition to recklessly speculating and living the lifestyle of reckless speculation, which, by the way, if you live the reckless speculation lifestyle, this is really like Christmas week. I mean, whatever holiday you celebrate, like this really is it. I mean, this is one of those sports reckless speculation lunar eclipses that only happens once in a while. Where what's like the most rare eclipse? Like, what was that one a couple years ago where people like drove hundreds of miles and
Oh yeah,
solar something. I don't know.
The waste of time eclipse.
Yeah,
you're out on eclipses.
There was that like hilarious photo of like Bartolo Colon, who's with the Twins, wearing those goofy glasses, trying to see, like everyone was trying to see the eclipse or something without damaging your eyeballs. I don't know.
Yeah, that eclipse. That's when you've got the NBA and NHL calendars lining up with the baseball, the free agency of those leagues, with the MLB trade deadline, with NFL training camp starting. I mean, it's just a glorious week if you celebrate the lifestyle.
Reckless speculation.
But old tweets exposed today, presented by Dennis Kirk and DennisKirk.com. 160,000 parts and accessories in stock. Whatever you ride, they've got you covered at DennisKirk.com. All right, hit us with it. Declan, what do you got for us?
All right, so it is a Miguel Sano edition of Old Tweets Exposed. All three of us with Sano
This is
takes,
nice.
if you will.
Oh, are you pulling my Bad Takes Hall of Fame tweet?
No, I'm not actually.
Oh,
I'm
we should
not.
do that at some point. He did hit
Yeah.
2 bombs yesterday, so I guess.
Mm-hmm. You had a good game. We'll start with Phil.
Actually, here's a question before we.
Uh-huh.
When should we start putting other people in Old Tweets Exposed?
Yeah, I
it's
would like
mostly
to
been focused on ourselves, but
Yeah,
should we
I would
open
like
it
to
up
start-
for other people?
Yes, I would like to start. I would like to start doing that.
That might be
It would
kinda
also
fun.
make
It'd be
life
our
easier.
way we could
Yeah.
lash out at people. and
Like
make
people
fun.
people in the business, or like who would we do?
Well, we'd have to sort of discuss. I don't think we
We'd
need to
have to
throw
do-
like
we'd have to
random
internal
listeners under the
discussions.
bus, but
That's what I was asking.
I think
don't know.
if you have a blog, a podcast, or anything sort of above that on the media pecking order, I think you're fair game for Old Tweets Exposed.
All right.
Oh my God.
Phil's Old Tweets Exposed. July 10th, 2017. I feel like Miguel Sano isn't quite a household name yet, but he probably will be after tonight. This was on the Home Run Derby, I believe, in 2017.
Oh, okay.
And Phil Mackey was very convinced that
Was
this
I
is the
wrong?
night.
Yeah, he
Miguel
is. I mean,
Sano
he
became
is a household name now, mostly. I don't know if he's like he's probably not a household name.
I wouldn't call him a household name. And I don't think
Outside
the
of
Home Run Derby
Minnesota,
was going to be the one that
I'm not going to
moved
rip
him
you
into that convo.
until I see my tweet. So
All right, I'm the leader in the clubhouse, but I think there's got to be worse here.
this
on the
isn't that.
horizon.
Yeah.
All right, Judd Zolgad. You are not alone as well. This tweet
Okay.
from you.
Easy, Michael Jackson.
Hashtag this is it. July 2nd, 2016. I made a big mistake when it comes to Miguel Sano. I had no idea he was this good at
What?
third base.
What?
I was hacked that month. I remember I was hacked.
What games were you watching? When was this?
Remember
2000
the
what?
Oh, wait,
2006. I know. I'll get there. 2016.
Yeah. Yes.
2016. Remember the Brooke Robinson comparison and how you laughed? Well, I did too, and now I feel shame. Stains of
Oh, that's
consumer
right.
guilt.
We had the double-A play-by-play guy on.
He was like really aggressive.
And we asked, like, yeah, they probably have to move him off of third base because his defense is questionable. He's like, whoa, I'm going to stop you right there. I've watched a lot of third basemen in my career. I've watched Brooks
you go.
Robinson.
Yep. There it is.
Remember when the play-by-play guy from Chattanooga compared his defense to Brooke Robinson and doesn't sound quite as crazy. He can play.
What? So what did he just have like a good game, made a diving stop or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I'll put it
boy.
this way: for a large man, he's nimble. Like he looks like a Mack truck, and he handles more like a sports car, but in slow motion. So you'd see him coming in, and he would barehand. He had a rocket for an arm, and he would make barehanded plays. But I do have the statistical proof. So he has played 2,400 innings in his career at third base, and he is a -32 defensive runs saved.
Good
So
God.
but it's well below average.
This was long. This was long before I realized that. So he has a great arm, and he actually can go back on balls. The problem is ground balls to his left. He had a tendency to fall down. And at first base, he can actually go right a little bit.
You ever
but he
play in a
can't go-
softball league? It's different.
Yeah,
But he can't go left.
seriously.
Well, yeah, but I don't get paid well to do it. But yeah, I found out the frustration was when he had no range to go left, and there were times where he would just fall.
We've all been there.
But anyway,
I
I lead right now. That
Yeah,
tweet's
100%.
awful.
All right, Declan's got to bring some
Why
heat
did it
here if
rip
he wants to
Phil?
beat Judd.
Because I was worried about that.
Okay. May 3rd, 2015. With guys like Adam Walker and Miguel Sano mashing balls, where do they fit in with Arcia, Vargas, and Plouffe?
I would say they belong.
They belong.
Declan just
me
walked it off.
trying to like project as in how do we get all these all these quote unquote great players in the same lineup, and four out of these 5 have been out of the league for numerous years.
Adam Brett Walker, the last time that we saw him, gentlemen, I believe was when we were doing some remotes from the Saint
Yep.
Stadium, and I think he
still-
was a Milwaukee Milkman.
He still
Yeah,
is. In
he
fact,
still is.
he is one of the best hitters in that league. So Adam Brett Walker, and how dare you leave the Brett part out of that name? All right,
Sorry.
you're not tight enough with Adam to just call him Adam Walker, right? So how about this? He's playing. So he's still playing for the Milwaukee Milkmen, which is in the American Association.
AA.
So
Yeah.
it's the league the Saints left to join the Twins affiliation. 63 games, 285 plate appearances. He's batting .331, slugging .703. He has 25 homers, 21 doubles, and a triple. So he has 47 extra base hits in 63 games. He's mashing in this league. He's 29 years old, so I guess I wouldn't be shocked if this season propelled him into someone's camp for, like an actual organization. But
Declan, though, just named every guy that sort of flamed out. And I don't think
But,
Walker,
like,
he didn't
But
get
I
here,
said
right?
it as in
dude, he struck.
No.
Okay, Adam Brett Walker is amazing. So he struck out 195 times in 133 games in Double-A in 2015.
Wow.
But then he hit home runs in all the other plate appearances. So, all right, I think I that's pretty funny, but I still think Judd Zulgad talking about the great defensive third baseman that is Miguel Sano. I don't know. I think Judd takes the cake here. Narrowly.
back-to-back weeks.
Narrowly.
I'm more than willing to take it.
Yeah.
Unless
So-
Declan wants to contest that his was worse.
How about the Twins yesterday? Showing some fight, coming back from down 10-0. What a great offensive performance.
What are you talking? Oh, yeah. Great pitching, too.
Miguel Sano
Great
hit a couple
pitching.
towering home runs. And
Oh, he hit a bomb. Third
when
deck.
when I think of one word to describe this team, it's fight. It's fight.
Yeah. How about Miguel Sano, third deck? I hope if I was the Twins, I would ship that highlight all over MLB and say, look at what this guy can do.
They should. They should literally just take like the clips from Bally Sports North Twitter and just send them to all 30 teams or 29 other teams. Look at this guy. This guy can help you down the stretch.
If you didn't have the advantage of seeing the score box on the screen and the announcers didn't say the score and you just listened to Bally Sports North games blind, would you say right now they've won 62 or 63 games?
Yeah, you're right. I think they would be in the mix to acquire Max Scherzer, pushing for a. I don't know. I understand their plight and that they can't just tell the viewers that this is garbage and you shouldn't watch because like they need people to watch and be interested in something.
I'll stop you right there, though. So the game 2 nights ago where they're up, was it 5-1 or 6-1? 5-1, and they gave up the grand slam. I was tuned into the game, good old fashioned radio. Provis melted down, and it was awesome.
What was the gist of
The
it?
disgust in his voice. This has happened. I mean, he went full just I want to throw up. And the thing I love about Gladdy is Gladdy gave the old because he loves to do that. He goes and it's just like the Gladden tell. Like I don't know about this.
Can't say what I really want to say, or I'm going to get fired.
But this is what I tweeted. This is what I want my announcers. I don't want you're not going to rip the team. I totally get that, right? But you follow these guys all year long. I mean, Corey Provis has to watch this crap, and he's smart enough to be like, "This is disgusting."
Yeah,
he reflects what the fans feel. That's what I want my announcer to do.
That's that is the. You're not always going to like fully just turn on the team when you're in bed for that many millions of dollars, but like
you'll get fired.
Is there some closer reflection of how the fans feel and their frustration that you could mirror? So. All right, well, this has been a good, productive, reckless speculation Thursday. I'm going to guess that we're going to be reacting to some things at some point tomorrow/Saturday. We'll see. But we got you covered. If you live the reckless speculation lifestyle, then
Reckless speculation.
head nod to you. This has been Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. Be sure to check out Purple Daily as well for full Vikings training camp recaps and Vikings entertainment. We'll see you guys tomorrow.